All right, ladies, we back again through 5 weeks, checking in. Happy with a little more participation from everyone. Appreciate that. It'd be nice if a couple more people would be getting on a little more, though. I mean, it's really just the same people chime in, clearly voting on the polls, everything, talking trades. I mean, there has been some activity. There's been some trades made, trade talk. So, obviously we're not sitting here telling you if you don't want to be active in the league, you're right. Fuck it, you don't need to be. But it would be obviously a lot more fun for everyone if people were a little more involved, even if your team sucks or if you're 5-0, whatever. Getting to that point in the season through 5 weeks where you're kind of seeing where you're at. You could be unlucky, you could be shit, whatever it is. You need to really... You can't keep falling this far down and expect to make the playoffs. We do have 15 regular season matchups. This is 1/3 through the season. So far, we have one undefeated team, Scott, 5-0. One defeated team, Eric, 0-5, and a couple of teams. The teams that really needed to win this week, Eric, John, Kelsey, all kind of fell short. A little bit of bullshit, down to the wire plays, whatever. I wanted to highlight one matchup actually, in particular, with Scott and Kelsey. Scott had some, pretty rough matchups this week, starting some scrubs, and this goes into the fact, the luck factor. Really, there is a lot of luck involved in fantasy sports. Obviously, we all know that. I mean, let me just point out the top 3 players from each squad. You got Kelsey is rolling out Cutler against Jacksonville, Foster against the Jets, Adrian Peterson against Tennessee, and then fucking Scott, Matt Ryan, Sean Green, and Jonathan Stewart. Matt Ryan's having a great year, but other than those other 2 guys, you think, oh my god, it's going to be a fucking blowout. But it's the exact opposite. Kelsey got blown out, and it must have been bittersweet for him because 2 weeks ago, Kelsey started James Jones on the Packers, and he caught 2 balls for -2 yards. Scott starts him against Kelsey 2 weeks later, gets 16 points, 2 touchdowns. I mean, that's just, maybe this isn't Kelsey's year, maybe this is Scott's year, which brings me to my next point also, where, you can find points on the waiver wires. Defenses, tight ends, kickers, they're out there, good flex spots. Look, I picked up Curley, so John couldn't start him. In our matchup, he ends up dropping 10 on my bench. John had him in his flex spot. That's game for John right there. You can always find these points out there if you look properly. But the point I wanted to illustrate was, as much as I do like Scott's team a lot, and I'm not as high on Kelsey's team as I was earlier on, Kelsey's team isn't that bad to be 1-4, and Scott's team isn't that good to be 5-0. And now here's the big difference in this matchup, if you look at it. Tight end, defense, and kicker, Scott got a combined 63 points from those 3 slots. I mean, that's absurd amounts of points. Kelsey, on the other hand, got 15. I mean, there's the matchup right there. And, is it because Kelsey doesn't have a great tight end? Yeah, he doesn't have a great tight end. But the defenses and kickers, it's kind of a lucky factor, and it's just Scott 2 weeks in a row. I mean, if you want to go back one more week, I even look back again. Through 2 weeks, Scott, those 3 slots right there, Scott has gotten 88 points from those slots, whereas Kelsey has gotten 27. Obviously, Scott's won the last 2. Kelsey's lost the last 2 by the differential right there in the points from those slots. Scott, I will guarantee in the next couple weeks you'll be rolling with the Bears D every time. It's going to burn you, but, keep taking the points when you can get them, no problem. But, Kelsey, sucks to be unlucky. It's still maybe you want to shuffle things up there because games can be won and lost just with those 3 positions, which is exactly what happened in your matchup. So, Kels, 1-4, still solid players. I don't know, tough. You got to really think about what you're going to want to do there. But Scott, obviously in great shape, 5-0, leading the league in points. So, moving on to another brutal last-minute matchup. John was rolling out a whole fucking team of scrubs against me. I mean, Jesus Christ, he has 0 points from Lamar Miller, which, John, what the fuck are you doing starting that guy? Come on, bro. You're trying to sit here in last week's video preaching on how to play fantasy football, and you start a guy who didn't even get a fucking carry. And you knew that was going to happen because Reggie Bush was active. That cost you the game because, as everyone knows, or if you didn't know, John lost by 1 point. And if he had started any of the players on his bench, obviously any of them that were active, Daryl Richardson, for Christ's sake, David Wilson, anyone off the fucking waiver wires, 1 point would have tied him with me and he had the edge with the quarterback. But if you didn't know, it was a Kyle Rudolph touchdown, literally 3 minutes left in the Vikings game, garbage time. They were up, I think, 23-7, and they chuck him a fucking touchdown at the end of the game. John loses by 1. I've never been on this side of that kind of win before, but hey, it felt pretty good. buried John at the bottom of the league at 1-4, put me into 3-2, in a much better position than I would have been in 2-3, obviously. So we'll see. Like I said, no squad is truly out right now. 1-4, 0-5. You need to really try to make some moves, and obviously, again, luck. Luck plays a huge factor. Okay, moving on. I mean, I'm not even going to touch Paul's matchup with Stocy. Stocy dropped a mediocre 90, which, not awful, but when you get fucking 24 from Victor Cruz, you think you're going to get more points than that. Paul, on the other hand, I mean, this team is clearly just make a fucking move, Paul. I mean, you have no acquisitions, no waiver claims. You dropped 52 points this week, I think? I mean, that's just abysmal. 54 points. Cam Newton's obviously hurting you, but you're rolling Michael Bush out there every single week. When is that going to stop? I already touched on this once, man. You're not listening. It's terrible, terrible play. I mean, obviously, a little bad luck with Wallace and Johnson getting screwed, but, just up and down the board, your team looks brutal. There are better players. Nate Washington, you're starting as a wide receiver. Come on, man. You're a Jets fan. You should have even been pulling for fucking Curley this week. You could have picked him up. I picked him up late in the week. Either way, little things can help make a difference. Paulie falls to 2-3 with abysmal points scored. Stocy creeps back up to 3-2, which is fine. Middle of the pack. Loses Cedric Benson. That was a big pain. So you're probably, everyone check your trade block, because Stocy's been offering everyone shit this week. Moving on, Derek faced off with James. James' team looking pretty strong, dropping 126. Again, I mean, I know I've said this to him personally, talked about it with a couple other people. Starting two players on the same team, two receivers on the same team. James claims he thinks it balances out, but you're going to get a goose egg from one of them, almost guaranteed every week. When I say goose egg, I don't mean 0, but 3, 6, 4. And if that's a top 10 receiver, you can't really swallow that. And then the other side, what happens about when you faced Kelsey last week? You lost because both of them dropped fucking 4 or 3. They don't balance out. You should trade one of them. You really should. It's not that difficult of a concept. You should do it. You can obviously do what you want with your team. Package a couple players together. Go after a big name. A couple teams with big names are rotting at the bottom of the fucking well. Maybe they're looking to make a move and improve, get us a chance. Either way, do what you want with your team. But James' team is looking pretty good. T. Rich is a very solid-looking, young, promising running back. Again, Eric should have had him. Matty Mack should have had him. You shouldn't let that guy fall to James at 3, unless James took him at 2 and I'm being an idiot, which is possible. But Derek's team is floundering as well. I mean, Derek, you've been riding the Rodgers, Jones-Drew, Wallace, now Green train for 3 years. And yeah, you've made the playoffs 2 or 3 years in a row now, but you had the worst draft you've ever had, by far. I mean, it's like, I don't even know. It's like your dad did no research and drafted for you, but who knows. You should also consider moving people. I'm not giving everyone individual advice, but you can, just because it's a superstar doesn't mean you have to hold on to him. Aaron Rodgers, yeah, it's great to have him on your team, but you could get so much for him, you should think about trading him to get maybe a little bit worse of a quarterback and maybe, a top-tier receiver running back. Yeah, maybe neither one of the players will be as good as Rodgers, but together they're going to be better than Aaron Rodgers and fucking Brandon LaFell, or Aaron Rodgers and whoever the fuck you're plugging in Flex, whether it be Bolden or who knows, Think about it. You can get some draft picks maybe, improve next year. Isaac Redmond, big mistake, retard, come on. Think about that, bro. It's something to think about. Moving onward, let's see what else we got. Already went on to... like I said, Eric fell to 0-5. I believe he was playing Matty T. Eric had some good performances this week, but it just, wasn't enough. Andrew Luck looks like, hey, there you go. You might have found something good there with that. You can base a team around there, Eric. Start making some moves. I got your trade offer. It's a fucking joke. Don't insult me. But yeah, Matty's team put up 114, 92, not great, Eric, but, not the worst outing you've had. But again, BGE dropping 1, Spiller 2, Jackson on your bench 2. Welker looks like he's come back to form. Anyone probably should have bought him low. Everyone, but nobody did. Jermichael Finley's a joke. You need to stop rolling him out every week, man. You can just watch him. He's not a good player. He's an athletic freak, but he has no fucking hands. He's a dumb nigger. He just cannot catch a ball. That's really all there is to it. All right. I believe that way. I always forget someone every week. Who did I forget? Oh, Grant versus Matty Mack. Matty Mack had a week, 92-84. He beat Grant. That was kind of our game of the week we highlighted last week. Didn't really turn out the way we thought. We thought it would be a little more of a shootout. Grant got his usual, like we said, 32 from Breeze, which is just a lock every week. Ryan Matthews came out of nowhere, not nowhere, but got the rollback, dropped 20. McCoy, 13. He's really been very mediocre for a top 3 pick, but that Philadelphia team has been pretty fucking brutal. But if you look right past that, like I said Grant's going to fall victim to the Brian Hartline big game, and what did he do? Of course he fell victim to him. 5 points. 4 points from Steve Smith, 2 from Garcon. He's looking weaker than weak in receiver. Grant, you are another team. You're 3-2. You're like Derek, but a little bit better. You've always ridden the same players. Make some moves, man. You're sitting on a shit team that's just kind of coasting through right now. You need to make moves if you want to really have a shot at the Dingo this year. There are a lot of solid teams that just will probably mow you down, and Breeze isn't going to get 32 points every game. You can lose some games based off of Breeze having a bad game. On the other side, Matty Mack, kind of just up and down, decent performances. Andre Johnson starting to be a big question mark receiver, dropping 1. Other than that, double digits from just about everyone else, so not bad. And clearly, Matty Mack was the winner of that trade with Stosey, fucking Michael Turner and LaShore for CJ. How'd CJ do? Don't ever try to offer him in a trade for me again, bro. That's stupid. Come on. All right, so that's through 5 weeks. Again, I know we keep saying it all the time. I know people like the write-ups a little better. They're a little funnier. A lot more time. A lot of shit going on. My parents are moving out of this house. We're trying to get that shit ready to sell. So I'm at school. Kelsey's working all the time. John's working 2 jobs. Bartending, maybe 3 jobs. Who fucking knows? Working out. Everyone's got their shit going on, so it's tough to block out 2 hours and get it right up. We're trying our best to do it. The trophy's on back order. We should get things moving with that very soon. So closing statement, like I said, you don't have to hold on to people. You don't have to trade if you don't want to. You're right. It's your team. You can run any fucking way you want to. But sometimes a trade is what sparks a shit team to make a nice run. Let's look back when Matty T made that trade with John. I believe it was Randy Moss he got along with D'Angelo Williams and Jason Witten, and he traded Calvin Johnson to John before he really turned into a superstar. D'Angelo Williams was a fucking throw-in in that trade, and he went on, ran for 20 touchdowns that season, and brought Matty T all the way to the championship. And that year, Matty T's team was shitty. So sometimes it's just a trade like that can make a huge difference, a throw-in player. Look at all the fucking running backs going down. You got an IR in Green Bay. Another IR for Ryan Williams in Arizona. You never know when a guy's just going to bust out and go fucking nuts with the job. Look what Spiller was doing when Jackson got hurt. Yeah, Spiller's a lot more talented than some of the other guys, but you just never know when making a move can make a huge difference. Stosey might have shot himself in that foot with that trade for Turner and LaShore. What happens if LaShore comes out and just goes nuts? You never know. But don't hold on to a guy too long, or just because he's a top guy, an Arian Foster, or Ray Rice, and Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, I would call these guys untouchable. But if the right offer's there, fucking do something, man. Make your team better for now, for the future, for both. Get a draft pick, trade a draft pick, whatever you got to do. Either way, Thursday night game looks like a real shit fest. Steelers, Titans. I don't even know if we're gonna get something up before then, but I'm pretty sure me and Kels will both be on a video at some point this weekend, and we'll try to get a little banter going, because it's a lot easier to be funnier when you have 2 people, 3 people, especially when they're as gay as those 2 fucks. But hawk the waiver wire, do what you got to do. I'm no master, but we've had some success in the past and continued success, so just try to do something to make your team better, make yourself more successful, because you're going to have a lot more fun if you're winning.